Hey everyone, welcome back to your Excel Ninja, the channel where we help you level up your Excel skills one trick at a time.
Today, we're diving into one of the most requested topics from our community, creating dynamic charts that overlay sales data from multiple years. This is perfect for business reporting, sales analysis, and spotting year-over-year trends. In this comprehensive tutorial, we'll explore not just one, but three powerful methods to create these comparison charts using standard Excel features, leveraging Power Query, and implementing DAX formulas in the data model. By the end, you'll have multiple approaches to visualize your data effectively.
Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on more tips, tricks, and Excel hacks. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Jimmy, and I'm your Excel Ninja.
Method 1. Using standard Excel features. First, let's look at our dataset. I've prepared a sample with daily sales figures for 3 years, 2022, 2023, and 2024. Our data includes columns for year, month, day, date, and sales. For standard Excel charts, we'll need to organize this data for easy comparison. Let's start with a pivot table. Click anywhere in our data range. Go to Insert, then Pivot Table. Keep the default settings and click OK. In the Pivot Table Fields pane, drag Date into rows. Group by month. Right-click on Dates, select Group, and choose Months. Next, drag Year to columns. Then drag Sales to values and change the calculation to sum. Now we have our data aggregated by month and year, perfect for comparison. Let's create our chart. Select our pivot table. Go to Insert, Charts, and Line Chart. Let's customize our chart. Add a title, Monthly Sales Comparison by Year. Format the axis for better readability.
Make the display units into thousands. Format the number into currency. And add a custom unit of the character K to represent thousands.
Add data labels to key points. Customize colors for each year.
You now have overlaying lines of sales amount of multiple years for the same months.
Method 2. Using Power Query. Power Query offers more flexibility for data manipulation before creating charts. Let's see how to use it. Select our data table. Go to Data. Click on Get and Transform Data. Click on From Table/Range. In the Power Query Editor, split the date column into year, month, and day by going to Transform, and then Date, and then Date Parts. Group by year and month by selecting Transform, Group by, then Group by year and month. Sum the sales column. Now let's create a pivot. Select Add Column, then Pivot Column. Choose year as your pivot column. Values to sum of sales. Now we can create a line chart from this transformed data. Select the transformed data, insert charts, and line chart. The advantage of Power Query is that when your data changes, you can simply refresh the query instead of recreating the pivot table.
To learn more about Excel and other data essentials, visit www.yourexcelninja.com to get started. We also offer one-on-one learning sessions.
Method 3. Using the data model and DAX. For the most powerful and flexible solution, let's use the data model and DAX formulas. Select our data table. Go to Power Pivot and add the data model. In the data model, create a calendar table with DAX. Next, create relationships between our sales table and calendar date table. Next, create calculated measures.
This area right here is the calculation field. You can put any measure in here. You can name one as sum of sales 2022. You put a colon and an equal sign instead of an equal sign to make this distinct from a regular function. Next, you type in the calculate function in DAX. Your arguments for the calculate function must be the expression that states that it is the sum of sales of 2022. So you type in sum, and the argument of sum must be the sum of sales. And so you can navigate to the sales field of the sales table. The second argument of calculate in DAX is a filter expression. In this case, we'd like the sales to be a sum of all the 2022 sales. So you can express it like this. It has to be in the calendar date table. In this case, it has to be the year. Express that to be equal to 2022. You can now close your calculate function within closed parentheses. Do the same thing for 2023 and 2024. And as you can see, one of the measures is already written, and it does appear to give a result right away in this cell where it's been written at. In order to create the two other measures that sums all the sales of 2023 and 24, we simply copy the first measure and paste it down. When you do, you get a suggested name of copy of sum of sales 2022 with the same formula. We're going to modify it. We will call this 2023 sum of sales. And the only thing that you will be changing in the rest of the argument would be the value in the filter argument. Here, you change this value into 2023. You can now hit return or click on the checkbox to commit. You now have the second measure encoded. You can copy the same thing down below. Again, when you do, it gets a suggested name, and we will be modifying it. It will be sum of sales of 2024. Now, if you guess we're gonna just be changing the value of the year in the filter, then you're right. Let's change that to 2024. You can now commit by hitting the check mark or the return key on your keyboard. Your calculated fields are ready. You can now exit the data model view.
Next, create a pivot table from the data model. Rows will be calendar month. Values will be sales 2022, 2023, and then 2024. Create a line chart from this pivot table. The DAX approach gives us the most control and flexibility, especially for complex calculations and comparisons. Now that we have our data prepared using 3 different methods, let's explore some advanced visualization techniques. Dynamic date range selection. Create a slicer for year and month. Connect it to our charts. Now, users can select specific periods to compare. Year-over-year growth. Add calculated fields for year-over-year growth. Year-over-year growth is simply sales 2024 minus sales 2023. The difference divided by sales 2023. Now create a combo chart with lines for sales and columns for growth. Moving averages. Add a moving average trend line to smooth out daily fluctuations. Right-click on a series and then click on Add Trend Line. Next, Moving Average. Seasonal analysis. Create a calculated field for season.
Now in DAX, here is the code to create a measure to determine the season of a certain date. So here's how you add a field that will determine each data point's season value. You will have to hit the add column in the data model, and on this cell right here, you just have to enter the following function. You will use the same switch command, and that will be the argument true will be evaluated against the criteria if the month, which is referring to this column right here, if that is between the number 3 and the number 5. If it is, then it will be returned as spring. Secondly, if the number will be in between the number 6 and the number 8, it will be returned as summer. And if the number falls between 9 and 11, the value to return is fall. Otherwise, it will return as winter.
Compare sales by season across years. Best practices for effective comparison charts. When creating these charts, keep these best practices in mind. Number 1, use consistent scales across years. Number 2, choose appropriate aggregation levels. Daily, weekly, monthly. Highlight significant data points or outliers.
And there you have it. You now know how to create powerful multi-year comparison charts in Excel. This will impress your colleagues and help you make data-driven decisions. If you found this tutorial helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe to your Excel Ninja for weekly Excel tips and tricks. See you in the next video.